Hey, two. Hey, one. Hey, two. Hey, three. Hey, four. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho.
Everybody get up.
Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho.
Everybody get up. Everybody get up. I say, everybody get up. Everybody get up. I say,
Oh, how are you, LaDios?
I am wonderful. How are you, Miss Raven?
Fantastic. Now I'm going to try to say this correctly.
Okay.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem. Thank you. We are in our 10th day of Ramadan. So I'm hanging in there.
Tell me a little bit about that. Tell our viewers that don't know what Ramadan is and
wonderful.
all of that. I would love to know more.
Okay, so once a year, the Muslims fast from sunup to sundown. So before the sunrise, and we don't drink, eat, or anything
Wow.
during the daylight hours. No, not even intimacy.
Okay,
Yes,
wow.
this is
good.
the time. It comes once a year, and it's on the Muslim calendar, so it goes back about, I think, 10 to 14 days every year.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, it started last Friday. Well, it started Thursday night. We started had our last meal, and then Friday was the full Ramadan, and it's gonna go for 30 days. And so
Okay.
it's a time when we read our Quran from cover to cover. It's broken down in 30 parts. And it's a time to refast and get back on track onto your spirituality.
Very nice,
Yes,
very nice.
yes.
Well, I think that brings us to our topic today,
Yes.
spirituality and how that impacts acting and our lives in general. I am non-denominational. I consider myself to be agnostic. Agnostic means that you believe in a higher power. You just don't know what. I don't know what that higher power is. And so I'm a pretty free thinker and have always been that way. My mother was 17 when she had me. So she was a teen mom way before it was cool, way before there were any TV shows or any of that. And because of that, she felt very ostracized from the Catholic community. And I won't tell all our viewers all of the disparaging things that she said, but I didn't have a great view of the Catholicism when I was growing up, and I used to go to church with my neighbors and things like that. So I remember around 9, I had a next door neighbor who took us to the Unitarian Church and also took us to ISIS, the metaphysical bookstore, and that's where I purchased my first crystals, and that kind of opened my mind to all of these different realms of religion and spiritual practice. So that's guided me for a long time, and I wouldn't say I was a Unitarian at the ripe old age of 9. That's just the first time that I was introduced to that church, and I don't really call myself a Unitarian per se. It's just if I were told, hey, you have to choose a denomination right now, Unitarianism is the one that I would lean toward. And
Well, explain a little bit about what Unitarianism is.
yeah, absolutely. It's a church that's been around since the 1600s and a little bit before that. And they are grounded on 7 principles. I'll touch on a few of the principles. The inherent worth and dignity of all persons, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth, and a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. There's no condemnation with the Unitarian Church. They don't believe in hell, per se. So it's very open in that regard. And then as I grew older, I found out that through slave narratives, there's a great slave narrative that you can actually see me read on my YouTube channel.
Nice.
Aaron, The Light and Truth of Slavery, where he really annihilates all of the churches. I mean, he's like the Quakers, the Baptists, all of you. You treat me like a dog, except for the Unitarians. The Unitarians are the only ones that give me proper victuals to eat. That's supplies and food to eat.
Yeah.
So that always stuck with me, and even to this day, they are the ones that will stand with the Black Lives Matter movement.
Nice.
If there's somebody facing deportation, they'll usually house them and
Yeah.
give them sanctuary. So I love all of those things, and that's one of the reasons why I really love that religion. But I love the fact that anybody goes and finds peace and solitude in whatever religious practice they have. You know, I think that there's always peace in that, and I do call on God when I'm lost or bewildered or just need someone to talk to. So
Yeah. So do you call it God?
I call it God, the Lord, the goddess, the
Okay.
universe. I call it all kinds of different things depending on
Yeah,
what's
and I
going
want
on.
you to just straighten out your beautiful,
Oh, well, thank
your
you.
beautiful
Thank you.
choker.
Yes, thank you.
So as for me, I grew up Baptist and Christian. I say both because when I stayed with my mom when I was younger, we went to church. Well, I went to church.
Sure.
She didn't go nowhere. She sent me to Sunday school, which was Christianity. And then when I went to live with my father at the age of 14 all the way through high school, he was, a Southern man, Baptist. And I went to church, the Baptist church, like 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay, well.
And then I always felt for me something was missing. Like I just felt like when I read the Bible, when I went to church, I just felt still like something was not connecting for me. And I just felt like I couldn't get answers. Everything seemed like it was so allegorical, and there was all these puzzles and pieces in the Bible, and they didn't make sense. And I'm like, and everything was, hell this and burn this, and like you couldn't do anything. You'd be punished for this, that, and the other. And so anyhow, when I navigated to the Mile High, which I love here, in 1991, I came into Islam. And Islam just means one who submits, it means peace. Muslim means one who submits their will to God, to peace, to, submits your will to God. And so I was invited, the short version, I was invited to go to the mosque, and I loved it. Now, you probably are like, where's your hijab? Well, I'm a little unorthodox. I'm going to be realistic. When I go into the masjid, I will wear my hijab. If I'm at a Muslim event, I'll wear my hijab. So, sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't get a little pushback about not wearing the hijab. But, it is what it is. But that's Islam always fit for me, but I have been open to more things like the crystals and the universe and the spirituality when it extends to the ancestors and putting out altars and, talking to, the ancestors. So I do expound my spirituality out that way as well.
Sure.
And I think that's how we connected a little bit too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm into the crystals and the candles and all that stuff, and setting tables and food to speak to the ancestors. That is all a part of me. But if someone says, what do I identify? I would say I'm a Muslim.
Sure, yeah.
So I do that. And so we're talking about this topic today, and we're going to probably have a part 2 of this topic. But we're talking about it today because being into the entertainment world is so corrupt and so many challenges to overcome, especially when you're trying to get into, if that's your goal, to get into Hollywood. A lot of times, or even just in the entertainment, whether it's singing or, music, a lot of times people end up throwing their spirituality out the door. I remember a long time ago. Have you heard of Eve the rapper?
I'm not actually from like the early 2000s.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yes.
I remember reading a article on her in the magazine. I don't recall the magazine right now, but the person who was writing it was saying how she had stopped in the middle of the article to go do prayer because she was practicing Islam. And I thought that was so interesting because I was like, oh, wow, Eve was practicing Islam. This is great. She's a rapper. But I have not heard that since, right now she's on a talk show. I can't remember which one, but she's a talk show, and she pretty much lives in Europe. She's married to this like wealthy, I think he races cars or builds cars, but he's like a billionaire. And so, but I thought, how do you keep your, what we call spirituality, and I don't like to say religion because I don't practice religion. I practice a way of life. But how do you keep your spirituality in a line that it doesn't conflict with your morals and values when you're in the entertainment business. And that's what we're here to talk about, because when you get challenges, people are going to be asking you to do things that you don't want to do. And then if you don't want to do them, then they'll be like, oh, we'll get somebody who will.
Right.
And we'll pay them less money, you know? And so people want you got to be really grounded to know that those challenges will come up. And so, we're going to talk about some things.
Sure. I mean, before we go into that, are there any Muslim artists that have influenced you or that have really impressed you in terms of being able to be in the industry and still be true to their Muslim, religion and,
well, there's some female artists. One's a rapper and one's an R&B singer. And one of them, the R&B singer, her name is Yuna. She is definitely Muslim. The first time I ran across her, she's been out for 4 or 5 years. Absolutely beautiful. I think she's from Malaysia. But I seen her in a video with Usher, and it's called Crush. But I pulled out some information on her regarding, her being able to represent her spirituality and being able to be a Muslim in the entertainment field. And she says, when I first started playing music, I was already covered, wearing headscarves. And like normally, people would expect you to change, toss this part of your life away so that you could be a pop star. Okay? So be a pop star. But I wanted to make music, not really a pop star, not really be a pop star. And there's always people who wouldn't necessarily agree with what I'm doing right now, but I'm really happy with where I am right now. And I'm a Muslim. I don't try to hide it. I'm also a girl who loves music, and I don't try to hide that as well. So I thought she was very profound, because she's like, hey, this is me. And if I got to take the scenic route to get to where I am, it doesn't matter, because and that's the thing, is you got to stay true to who you are, because they're going to put that dangling carrot in front of you and be like, this is what you can have. Are you willing to denounce this to get this?
And I wonder sometimes if it's just a test to see how much, not so much integrity, but just how much kind of gumption you have to be true to yourself. I know in a couple of episodes I talked about being authentic and being, that person that does know themselves inside and out. And I think part of that is knowing what you stand for and what you're not willing to do. And so, when those dangling carrots come, it's almost like a test of your mettle. Are you willing to take the carrot over, standing up for what you believe in?
Exactly.
And, hopefully people go either way. That's
it is.
So,
money has ruined so many, the love of money.
Sure.
I don't want to say money. The love of money. Like, people are easily to sell out because they want fame and fortune. That's not my goal. So, I'm pretty convicted in what I'm, so that's why I'm not a superstar. But I do quality work, and I'm proud of.
Yes.
Yeah. Another performer. Her name is, she's a rapper, in the Nation of Islam. Her name is, Neelam Hakeem. She's been on Vogue Arabia, the cover of Vogue Arabia, and that was in 2018. She's absolutely beautiful, and she writes about political relationships, covering up, not selling out, what kind of man is going to approach me. Like, one of my favorite songs by her that I really like is I'll Be the King. And so she covers all these different dynamics as a rapper, and she covers up if she wears her hijab. And so, I'm going to just read a little quote from her, from one of her issues. She said, I converted to Islam in 2007, but I never felt like I was fully ready to commit to the hijab. Some people, they struggle from that. I can admit, back in the day, I struggled from that. I'm not sure where I really stand in the hijab right now. Like I said, I wear it when I go to the masjid. I wear it in prayer and so forth and so on. But she said, my hair was a crutch for me, says burgeoning rapper artist Neelam Hakeem. From a fashion perspective, I didn't realize that you could be modest and fierce at the same time, and that you can walk into the room and command it. And I thought that was amazing that she said that. So she's saying, hey, she didn't know that until she actually, and there are a lot of us Muslim women who do struggle with the hijab, and I've ran into so many females who have had to deal with that. But the bottom line is that these are women in the entertainment business standing in lieu and for their religion and their faith, and I think that's important. And they're standing on the principles of what they believe.
Sure.